Right. Okay, we're at Pesach. I want to share with you another Rabbi Sachs piece. We're getting just in Rabbi Sachs mode because of our next study that's going to begin after Pesach Mirz Hashem. So I'm going to share my screen and let's see, Google Chrome share. All that, you see it? Yes? Okay, great. So, wait, you want to know who's on there?
I think my sister might come in.
Okay. Okay. So this is by the way, so one of the things I share this over Shabbos with our chaver, but I want it's worth sharing again. This piece more than ever this year is something that you can develop into a conversation either at the Seder or throughout Yom Tov. By the way, we're not limited to talking about the Seder, Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kardavan, only at the Seder. You know, there are like 1.5 million other meals. When you're busy trying to figure out, let's see, should I have butter on the matzah, or should I have cream cheese on the matzah, or should I put jelly on the matzah, or maybe I'll take a piece of garlic and rub it on there, or maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll have matzah brei. Do you put sugar on your matzah brei? Do you put cinnamon on your matzah brei? Or do you put, right? I eat none of that. None. I'm the only person that loses weight on Pesach because I eat nothing. Meat and potatoes. That's it. That's like how I could do it. So, but this piece, I think more than anything. So if you look, he writes here is from Shemot. Do you know it's going to be Passover related? 5776 and 5783. So why is that significant? So from my point of view, it's very significant because he recycled. Right. So this was put out in 57, right? What are we now? 5784. Okay. So so last year, in other words, he was already gone last year. So they use it again. Rabbis are always wondering, did I give this sermon already? Did I say this once before? Did I use this or not? Okay. So that's always a concern. And then ultimately realize it doesn't matter. Because unless there's always like the one nudnik that comes, Rabbi, you said that 4 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're always gonna have that person. Okay, what are you gonna do? You gotta live with it. That's part of life, right? You should never be afraid to say something if worried that, oh, somebody has heard it before. It's okay. So someone's heard it before. Okay, you can have the original. Because I have it online here. So so this is a really, really apropos from now. So I want to just go through with you. It's a bit of a not long, but it's very involved. So here we go. Genesis ends on an almost serene note. Jacob has found his long lost son. The family's been reunited. Joseph has forgiven his brothers. And under his protection influence, the family has settled in Goshen, one of the most prosperous regions in Egypt. They now have homes, property, food, the protection of Joseph, the favor of Paro. Must have seemed one of the golden moments of Abraham's family history. Now, I don't know about you, and I guess probably because we know the rest of the story, but when we get to the end of Bereshis, we're never like, okay, we're good. All good. It's because we know what's coming next. So had the book stopped there and we didn't know what was coming next, we'd be like, okay, you know, all's well that ends well. They're not going to kill each other as brothers, even though up until the very end, the brothers still are thinking like, okay, maybe he was just waiting to like the old man to kick off. And now he's going to take revenge. And they actually ask him that. And they fabricate a story saying, oh, our father made us promise that you wouldn't do anything to us. He's like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good. You're good. We're good. But it's similar to Esav because Esav actually said that. He said, oh, Yikirvu Yemei Eva Lavi, soon my father's days are ending. I'm going to take care of him after father dies. And it's not that far-fetched. I'm sure we all don't have to look too far at certain families who seem to be like so jolly, happy, merry. And as soon as the youngest kid like graduates and moves out of the house, boom, parents get divorced. It happens. It happens. So sometimes we do things when we wait for loved ones. Are there some things that people wouldn't do while their parents are alive? And as soon as the parents are gone, it's like break out the lobster kind of thing. Yes, don't look so shocked. I'm just telling you, this is how the world goes, right? The strongest force in the world stronger than gravity, is Jewish guilt.
Well, my mother-in-law used to tell her grandchildren, from my grave.
Right? I'll haunt you.
Turn over in my
Exactly, exactly.
grave.
Think about it. Think about it.
You're married or-
They created this lie, this myth that if you have a tattoo, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. It's completely untrue. Completely untrue,
After Laura's pleasure, man.
right? If it made it to a curb your enthusiasm, but completely untrue. Now, it doesn't mean at the same time that you're allowed to get a tattoo. You're not allowed, you're 100% not allowed to get a tattoo. Okay? Who, I want to hear this. Let's take the call. No, let's have it. Apparently you turned it off. I see how well you turned it. That, of course, when it rings, you can't find the phone. And this is, I wonder, who is it? Who is it? I want to know, is it one of your girls? No. Okay. I'm so happy to have you back, by the way. I have like 4 or 5 months to make up for her here, okay? If I didn't care, I wouldn't bother. See that? There you go. So they made up that myth. You can take a gentleman that barely steps foot into shul, like 1 hour in Rosh Hashanah, 2 hours maybe aggregate on Yom Kippur, and they lose a parent, chas v'shalom lo aleinu, and they're in shul, shachas mincha marv, and they're yelling at the guys, well, we didn't have a minyan, where were you? I'm like, where were you? Where were you the last 15 years? Okay, that's the power of Jewish guilt. Okay, so they try this on Yosef. We think everything's all great, but by the way, that's the story of how many different eras in Jewish history. Okay, look, we have favor with the government, we're in positions of authority, we have homes, we have property, we have food, we have protection, we control the banks, we control Hollywood, right? We control the markets, blah, 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 on and on and on. And it's all great until except we realize it's not so great. 500 years in Spain. America, by the way, our period of success in America has not been that long in the scope of history. Really not that long. So it's kind of, we have to be, now I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying, but we do have to live in the real world with pragmatic attitudes of what's really happening and how people really feel about us. And nowadays, the last few months, people have been very honest about how they feel about us. And Menachem Begin used to say that, when your enemies say they want to kill you, believe them. Because, yeah. So then, as happened so often since, there arose a new Paro who didn't know Joseph. There was a political climate change. The family fell out of favor. Paro told us his advisors, look, the Israelites are becoming too numerous and too strong. Like, we have a Jewish problem. The first time the word people is used in the Torah with reference to the children of Israel. Let us deal shrewdly with them so they may not increase. Hava nischak malo, pen yirbeh. And so the whole mechanism of oppression moves into operation. Forced labor, slavery, genocide. Well, the real word, use of the word genocide, not in, and he uses the word genocide in this article. I believe the word context also appears, which is just, awesome given today's day and age. So the story is engraved in our memory. We tell it every year and in summary form in our prayers every day. That's what it is to be part of what it is to be a Jew. But there's one phrase that shines out from the narrative. But the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and the more they spread. V'chasher yi'anu oso ken yirbeh v'chen yifrotz. It's a favorite. There's aside from the guy that likes to correct and tell you when you use a speech before or if you repeated a joke or something like that, there's the same guy that loves to correct a balkore when he sneezes and makes a slight mistake. So this is a favorite one because the word in Hebrew is v'chasher yi'anu oso, yit with a shiva, as opposed to a lot of Balakir will say kasher ya'anu oso. Ya'anu means answer, yi'anu means cause. Here it means to oppressed. So there's always that nudnik, and it's usually the same nudnik throughout rabbinic synagogue history. It's like the same character that is always the guy that's telling you oh yeah, but you're not following the bylaws. Whatever. So that no less than oppression itself is part of what it means to be a Jew. The worse things get, the stronger we become. Jews are people who not only survive, but thrive in adversity. So that's it. There you have it. Who was the greatest creator of Jewish unity in the last year? Hamas. Sad to say. Who's always, it's Hamas, it's the UN, it's Iran, it's unbelievable. Let me ask you this. Saturday was a rough day. I don't like using the word Saturday. I mean Shabbos, but I'm like Saturday in the world. Okay, already when I'm back from Mincha, already I'm getting, it started. We're sitting here in Spilkus waiting because the Biden administration says it's coming. Israel says it's coming. They call that river. They start to cancel flights and something's coming. We know it's coming. It's like we're just waiting for the broadcast event. And I come to Shul, back from Shul, it's coming. It started. Hundreds and hundreds of missiles. And we're like, oh, Gewalt, it's unbelievable. Everybody's worried about their family in Israel, where they're going to be, where they're going to go. And it's sort of this like, you're having this out of body experience. Is like something terrible is happening, but you kind of know, like, yeah, we're gonna be okay. Or I don't know. It was very, very weird. It was very, very hard. And how many by Saturday night, from Saturday night until Sunday night, if you think about it collectively, all of us in this room, how many emails did you get from 176 organizations saying missiles have been fired on us? The way to answer, is give us money.
Immediately.
If you give us money, I promise you it'll stop the rockets from Iran. The answer, give us money. And it's like, there's a kollel in Lakewood. You give us money and I promise. I know it sounds terrible, but think about it. If you look back, I'm no less than 100 emails. I get probably like one per rocket. Right? I get one per drone. It's like
A friend of mine,
Right.
Right,
yeah, right. So that
Translate enough.
Big job, really.
yeah. It's and by the way, I don't know how we ever lived life without memes. Okay, before there were memes, we just were not living our full lives. It's like the first time they had a direct flight from Iran to Israel, and okay. So, so it's not so Jewish history is not merely a story of Jews enduring catastrophes that might have spelled the end to less tenacious groups. It's that after every disaster, Jews renewed themselves. They discovered some hitherto hidden reservoir of spirit that fueled new forms of collective self-expression as the carriers of God's message to the world. Every tragedy begat new creativity. After the division of the kingdom following the death of Solomon came the great literary prophets Amos and Hosea, Isaiah, Yirmiyahu. Out of the destruction of the first temple, Babylonian exile, the renewal of Torah in the life of the nation, beginning with Yecheskel, culminating with the vast educational program. This is British when they have program with an E, brought back to Israel by Ezra and Nehemiah. Second Beis HaMikdash, literature, rabbinic Judaism, right? Oral tradition, Mishnah, Gemara, Talmud. From the Crusades came Hasidei Ashkenaz, the North European school of piety and spirituality. Following the Spanish expulsion came the mystic circle of Tzfas, Lurianic Kabbalah, and all it inspired by way of poetry and prayer. East European persecution, poverty came Hasidic movement and revival of grassroots Judaism through seemingly endless flow of story and song. And for the worst tragedy of all in human terms, the Holocaust came the rebirth of the state of Israel, the greatest collective Jewish affirmation of life in more than 2,000 years. I wish Rabbi Sachs were alive to tell us like what to say now. But the truth is as he is. He is exactly telling us, and he would probably say this. But so you can go through history. And again, it's important to tell the arc of the story of the family. We go back to that the piece you mentioned in the New York Times from the guy who walked with Abraham. I can't remember his name right now because I'm old. And you say, look, remember our story. We were nothing. We were almost gone. But somebody survived. Somebody got out. We started a business that failed. We started another business that did okay. We did well. Now here we are in America, et cetera, all these generations later. We all have those types of stories where we had a down arc, we had a raised arc, we had a plateau. Where are we heading right now? I mean, hopefully we'll keep raising the arc. Okay, but that's what happened after every, and I know it's a joke. They tried to kill us, they couldn't. Let's eat. Although at the Seder, it's not quite. It's like they tried to kill us, they couldn't. Let's talk more about how they tried to kill us, they couldn't. 3 hours later, we're going to eat. Maybe something. Okay. And the Seder start really late this year. 8:27, 8:28 is, what are you going to do? If you have little kids at the table, whatever, just someone's in for like a not pleasant experience. Okay. Now it is well known. Okay. When you're Rabbi Sachs, certain things are well known. When you're the average Joe Schmerl Barrel like me, it's not so well known. He was known, but so right. He was known to have read like especially in the summers when he would work. He had like a shed apparently outside of his house, which was his study, Like he had a whole thing and he would like lock himself in there. And he did this all pretty much on his own. And he would read a book a day or something like that. Okay. A book a day. I can't even do a book up to Hillam a day. A book a day. And he was just so worldly in the way he was able to take information and, bring it to the masses is just something. So obviously, given that, it is well known that the Chinese ideogram for crisis is also means opportunity. I mean, obviously.
Well, no.
I mean, everybody knows that. Then they're like, what's an ideogram? Okay. The Shmedrik. Any civilization that can see the blessing within the curse, the fragment of light within the heart of darkness, has within it the capacity to endure. Hebrew goes one better. The word for crisis, mashber, which I don't hear that word used too much, but it is a word, also means a childbirth chair, the mashber, which is found biblically. That's when I would hear the word mashber, I would think of childbirth, not necessarily crisis, but from the word shavur, breaking. You're breaking a seal, breaking the water, breaking whatever, however you want to look at that. Written into the semantics of Jewish consciousness is the idea that the pain of hard times is a collective form of the contractions of a woman giving birth. Something new is being born. That's the mindset of a people whom it can be said that the more they were pressed, the more they increased, and the more they spread. A similar notion of this is, and there are, by the way, very many connections of Pesach to Tisha B'Av. You know this? Oh, I gotta show you the coolest thing ever. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Atbash, you know the Atbash. So first of all, I'm with you. Okay. I can't contain myself. I'm gonna tell you. Okay. You might want a pen and paper for this, if you have it handy. The first night of Pesach is always the same night of the week that Tisha B'Av falls. So the rabbis naturally made this connection. Okay. It's found in the Shulchan Aruch, actually. Oh, thank God, because now you know why this is good, because these were out of order. Had I not done this, this would have stayed out of order on the shelf for weeks at a time, and now I know I'm losing sleep. This is one of the reasons they say, why do we have an egg at the on the Seder plate? So I know it's the carbon, but some say it actually also represents mourning. Sure, it's a mourning food, and it's one of the things that we have because of Tisha B'Av. So there are a few reminder ideas that connect Tisha B'Av to Pesach. Okay, fine. So in the I just have to find it. It's here in the Shulchan Aruch. Here. Siman l'kviyas hamoadim. We have a way to decide how to establish the holidays. So there's something called what? It's in Orach Chaim Taf Chavches 428, and it's Seif Gimel, if you want to know. 428/3. I'm telling you. You bring this out at the table with your like fancy kids who went to Israel and they know everything, they know more than you. I'm telling you, you own the Seder. I promise you, you own the Seder. You say, I was reviewing Shulchan Aruch and the Aruch Chaim in 428/3, and I came across this fascinating thing. And by the way, let me add something here that the Shulchan Aruch did not say. And please do not give me any credit. Just say, this is your idea this is your opportunity to shine. Okay? This is what happens.
Just
Because
plant the Shulchan Aruch nearby.
yes, I happen to be having this, but
Open to that.
absolutely. And by the way, absolutely, because your kids, when they're busy with their sheets telling you, no, you didn't eat enough matzah. It says you have to eat in the green area and the blue area, the red area, and you didn't put enough silver foil on up the wall. Like, you know what? You could show them a thing or two. Let me show you how it's done. That's how it should be. So there's something called in Jewish study, atbash. Aleph, Tuf, Bet, Shin, and it's Gar, Dak, Hat, Vaf. What it is it's like the foil method. If you remember, factoring and all that, and we're like first, outer, inner, last. So we take the first letter of the alphabet and the last letter. That's Aleph, Tuf. The second letter and the penultimate letter, Bet, Shin, Bash. Gimel, Resh, third to last. Dalet, fourth, and Kuf. Hey, fifth, and Sadi, and Vav, 6, and Pei. Okay? So now, This is what the Shulchan Aruch says. And using this methodology, we could figure out what days of the week the holiday are going to fall out. Now, one is a little bit of a kvetch, but don't worry, it's worth it to get to the last one that's not written. Okay? So, B'yom Rishon Shel Pesach Yiheh La'olam Tisha B'Av. Aleph, if the first day, Aleph, so we take Aleph, the first day of Pesach, and all goes by Pesach. First day of Pesach is always going to be tough. At, Aleph, tough. Aleph is Tisha B'Av. The tough stands for Tisha B'Av. So in other words, the first night of Pesach is the same day that the first night and first day, for that matter, of Tisha B'Av. Okay? Sheni, Beis, is Shin. What? Right? I am. The second day of Pesach is going to be the same day of the week that Shin falls out. What do you think Shin is? Excellent. Look at that. You got it with me? Beis is Shin. Gimel is Reish. The third day of Pesach. Oh my goodness! You don't even need me. It's Rosh Hashanah. So you want to know when Rosh Hashanah falls out this year? It's going to fall out on the same day as the third day of Pesach, which is, by the way, so Pesach is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's 3 days. So this is when we get to make fun of our people in Israel because the only time that they could possibly have a 3-day yontif, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos of Rosh Hashanah.
We're gonna have 3-day yontif for the.
Right. I love it. I love it more than anything. It's my story and I'm sticking with it. Okay. So,
You have to lie to us. We're all.
yeah. Gimel Reish. Okay. So we're up to Daled. So Daled is Kuf. Okay. Daled is Kuf. This is a little bit harder. This one I wouldn't expect people to guess, but the Shulchan Aruch says it stands for Kriyas HaTorah, which then is Simchas Torah. Okay.
Isn't it?
No, but it's just a way to remember it. But it's Chet is Tzadi. So Chet, sorry, which means not Chet. Hamishi, which is the fifth day. The fifth day is Hatz Hey Tzadi. The Tzadi stands for Tzom Kippur. So the fifth day of Pesach is going to correspond to what day Yom Kippur falls out, Tzom Kippur. Okay. And the last one, Shishi, the sixth day of Vav is Pei. Vaf is Purim. However, it's Purim Sha'avar. It's the most previous year's Purim. Okay, fine. That's all the Shulchan Aruch says. But we can add something, and this is amazing. That works out every time. If Vav is Pei, then theoretically there's 7 days of Pesach, right? Forget about the 8th day because we're in Chutz La'aretz. The 7th day of Pesach would correspond to what letter in the alphabet going backwards? What's before, right? Ayin. So Zion is Ayin. The 7th day of Pesach, that day of the week, would correspond to Ayin. And Ayin, the modern day, the Farshim figured this out, stands for Atzma'ut, correct. Hey, the 5th day, right? Yeah, I read Chet because I said Chamishi, but it's the 5th day, right? Okay, 6th day is Pei, which is Purim, the past Purim, and that would mean that 7 is Ayin, is Atzmaut, and it actually does correspond to when Hey Er falls out. Although nowadays the Rabbanut in the last number of years has played around with it that Atzmaut is never actually celebrated on Atzmaut because they don't want it to fall on certain days of the week. It can only be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. But the date Atzmaut of 5 is always corresponds to the same day as the 7th day of Pesach. Okay. So we're always, even though we're thinking about mourning, we're thinking about, oh my God, this is some really cool stuff. Okay. You break that out at any point on Pesach. I promise you, they'll be like, no, let me wash the dishes because like, I'm not worthy. I promise. Okay. You whip this out at any time in any holiday. I'm telling you, you're going to blow people away. Okay. Please somebody report back to me that they did this. And they're like, okay, fine. He continues. So where does something new is being born? Where did it come from? This Jewish ability to turn weakness into strength, adversity into advantage, darkness into light. I mean, we know this, especially in our community, with the great survivor presence and the legacies that they created, right? Tonight is actually Ray Kushner's yahrzeit. Right, so Murray Kushner was here, and I said, I promise I'm going to try and attempt to have my daughter get to Ray Kushner Yeshiva High School on time tomorrow in honor of your mother's birthday, but I can't promise. But I'm going to try. Okay. That's what happens when I'm no longer in charge of the transport. But how do we find people like that? We know so many of them, and we stand on the shoulders of giants who feel the worst of humanity, and somehow we're able to not only just make it, but like make it, and like take the responsibility of building and creating, and not just this community, so many Jewish causes, but the state of Israel itself. How does that happen? So it goes back to the moment in which our people received its name, Israel. Now, before you go on, I would ask you, if you would ask people, this is a good question to ask people at the table, because this is basic Torah knowledge. From where do we get the name Israel? Right? Or start, when was the name Israel first introduced?
When you're cooking the angel.
Malach, okay. What does it mean? Right? So that's like, it's like a one-on-one thing, but like we don't really think about it. Right? I mean, that he struggled with the angel, Vatuchal. Okay? So the name Israel means that we struggle, or maybe we fight, however you want to put it, or we quibble, or we bicker, or we, whatever. There was a great article in today's Wall Street Journal about carpool lines. Front page, bottom, about carpool lines and the militancy of parents and people trying to enforce it, whatever, and like lawsuits. Really, really, I mean, if you've ever waited on a carpool line, you can relate. Anyway, I'm just, chock full of all kinds of information, which are basically useless. So it was then, as Jacob wrestled alone at night with an angel, as dawn broke. Now, since this is Rabbi Sachs' article, I have to read it properly. His adversary begged him to let him go. I will not let you go until you bless me, says Jacob. That's the source of our peculiar, distinctive obstinacy. We have fought all night. We're tired. We're exhausted. We may find ourselves limping like Yaakov. Yet we will not let our adversary go until we've extracted a blessing from the encounter. It turned out to be not a minor and temporary concession. It became the basis of his new name and our identity, Israel, the people who wrestled with God and man and prevailed. It is the nation that grows strong with each conflict and catastrophe. It would be, take out the Chumash and say, hey, we are born out of conflict, which means we can't escape conflict. We can't escape catastrophe either, for that matter, which is why, one of the questions we ask when people want to convert to Judaism, we're like, are you out of your bloody mind? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, did you fall on your head that you want to be all of a sudden, and I've actually seen this when in part of a conversion court, and one of the rabbis asked is, you realize you're about to take on upon yourself like millions of new enemies just by like, this action you're about to take. Yeah, I know. Okay, just want to make sure, just want to make clear that you know what you're doing. Okay, but that's the reality. So he says, I'm reminded of this unusual national characteristic by an article that appeared in the British press in October 2015. Israel at the time was suffering from a wave of terrorist attacks that saw Palestinians murdering innocent civilians in streets and bus stations throughout the country. And it began with these words: Israel is an astonishing country, buzzing with energy and confidence, a magnet for talent and investment, a cauldron of innovation. It spoke of its world-class excellence in aerospace, clean tech, irrigation systems, software, cybersecurity, pharmaceuticals, defense systems, yada, yada, yada. We know how that goes, okay? We're the Nobel Prize winners, startup nation, okay. However, and there's a big however, because as Jews, part of our persona is we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're never comfortable when things are okay. And yet, nationally, we seem to be like, okay, when things are okay. Oh, we're living a comfortable life in the exile and everything's going great and we're successful. But somewhere in the recesses of our minds, we're thinking, how long can this last? All this, the writer went on to say, derives from brain power, for Israel has no natural resources and is surrounded by hostile neighbors. The country is living proof of the power of technical education, immigration, and the benefits of the right sort of military service. Yet this cannot be all, since Jews have consistently overachieved wherever they were and wherever they were given the chance. He goes through the various suggested explanations: the strength of Jewish families, their passion for education, a desire for self-employment, risk-taking as a way of life, and even ancient history. The Levant was home to the world's first agricultural societies and earliest traders. Perhaps then, disposition to enterprise was written thousands of years ago into Jewish DNA. Ultimately, though, he concludes that it has to do with culture and communities, and also Jewish mother. No, so they again, people have speculated how is it that Startup Nation can exist and how did it come about and military, all the reasons. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is like I'm not sure how. Like maybe should we have given up at some point, but we haven't, obviously. And there's so many other cultures that destroyed us that they're no longer to be heard from. Um, I I keep recommending it, and wherever I'm teaching lately, that I've become completely hooked on this. There's a journal, you could read it online. I think there might be a way to subscribe going forward and getting hard copies. It's a journal called Sapir. Okay, if you haven't read Sapir, Sapir is edited by Brett Stevens, and it's free online. And the most recent edition that came out, I can't remember the last time that I read a journal with so much good content in one volume. And the volume is called Friends and Foes. And because this is post October 7th, it's written, who are the friends of Israel? Who are the foes of Israel? And in one article, he has a black professor explaining why it doesn't make sense that really you would think that we would be lockstep, arm in arm with the black community, having faced similar persecution over time. And why is it that that's just not the case? And he has his theories there. A lot of it is connected to this. And he actually quotes a rarely cited, apparently, from Martin Luther King in his last publication. He wrote that the black community should look to the Jewish community about their grassroots educational systems, political involvement, and banding together to make their lots better in life. He says we should do the same.
Not a podcast.
I don't think so. It might be, but the volume, like you just read, you could pick out the articles, and like just from many different types of people, very, very well thought, well presented ideas. If you're looking for something to read over Yontif, I highly recommend this. SAPIR. You just Google it, you'll find in the previous articles. I'm telling you, I had a Shabbos afternoon, a long Shabbos afternoon. I was engrossed. I never had so many good articles, politically, sociologically, like just really good. And they has like from different.
Does he write as well?
Yes,
Stevens?
Brett's always writes an intro and like some really, like it's just good. I mean, you could print it out if you could. There's a way you could subscribe. I think that to get future hard copies. I don't think they could send you previous hard copies, but if you look at the articles you want and print the article, each article is 3-4 pages, whatever. Or if you're, if it's not Shabbos, you want to, read online. Highly, highly recommend. So, the key element to the culture has to do with the Jewish response to crisis. To every adverse circumstance, those who have inherited Jacob's sensibilities insist, I will not let you go until you bless me. That's how Jews encountering the Negev found ways of making the desert blue. If you want to stop Iranian rockets, give to JNF. I'm just plugging every organization we've worked with. Seeing a barren, neglected landscape elsewhere, they planted trees and forests, and they gave to Israel bonds. Faced with hostile armies on all their borders, they developed military technologies. They then turned to peaceful use. War and terror forced them to develop medical expertise and world-leading skills in dealing with the aftermath of trauma. They found ways of turning every curse into a blessing. So if you just look at how is the world at the last 72 hours or whatever it is, marveling at the notion of air defense systems. We've heard of these things in the past, and people talking about Star Wars and this and that, but they actually saw it in real time. What it means that a country that's a gazillion miles away is shooting these ridiculous ammunitions at you. Okay, you see the one that like landed in the Canary, this giant, oh my God. And you're like, yeah, got you. It's just like fly swatting. But do you realize what went into that? It's amazing. Of course. Amazing. And we're not talking about, mortars from Gaza. These are some serious situations going on here. The historian Paul Johnson, if you want to read a history, Paul Johnson's great. He puts it eloquently. Over 4,000 years, the Jews proved themselves not only great survivors, but extraordinarily skillful in adapting to the societies among which fate had thrust them and in gathering whatever human comforts they had to offer. No people has been more fertile in enriching poverty or humanizing wealth or in turning misfortune to creative account. By the way, do you know that the founders of the NAACP were Jewish? Yeah, just, there is something profoundly spiritual as well as robustly practical about this ability to transform the bad moments of life into a spur to creativity. It is as if deep within us were a voice saying, you're in this situation. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. It stinks, but you have a job to do. You have something you got to learn. You have a strength you have to develop, a lesson to learn, an evil to redeem, a shard of light to be rescued, a blessing to be uncovered. For I have chosen you to give testimony to humankind that out of suffering can come great blessings. If you wrestle with it for long enough, with unshakable faith. In an age in which people of violence are committing acts of brutality in the name of God and compassion, I don't have to explain this. The people of Israel are proving daily that this is not the way of God of Abraham, the God of life and the sanctity of life. Whenever we who are part of that people lose heart and wonder when it will never end, we should recall the words, and the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and the more they spread. A people of whom that can be said can be injured, but can never be defeated. God's way is the way of life. I found this to be so unbelievably important now more than ever, this year more than any other year. If you find a way to incorporate even part of this with your Pesach experience wherever, and doesn't have to be at the Seder, but this is what Pesach is about. Pesach is about the ability to say, look at where we are and look at what everybody tried to do to us. Now, it's not meant to give us hubris and to say, it's just meant to say, like, yeah, we're part of this long chain of like lots of things that are happening, and we need to figure out what to do. I say it all the time to people. I said, you're not defined by what happens to you, you're defined by what you do with what happens to you. And this we're figuring out, we're trying to prove what we're doing with what happens to us. Okay?
So bad moments for creativity. A friend of mine just told me this morning that on Sunday in Israel, her daughter gave her 2 daughters a bath with bath bombs.
Oh,
Oh, wow. I don't understand.
Little bombs, bath bombs.
yeah.
Like to disarm the.
Yeah.
That was just right.
To comfort
Made
them,
you-
so
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
be afraid.
No, the kids didn't know, they're very little, but she just kind of like.
Yeah.
For her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feeling herself.
I just, one more thing I want to share with you is, so every year I get new Haggadahs, and it's not hard to read through Haggadahs, especially, but if it's worth, like, if you get like even one tab, so I got 5 in this one. So if you get even one, it's worth it. That's what I say. And this is, so
Sit with it, that's it. You just like keep going around.
I have everybody, no, I think it's very important that everybody uses the same Haggadah when we do the actual service, but I keep like a little table with like my stash. I got matzahs, I got Haggadah, I got prices, I got,
How many are in the stack?
it depends on the year. It's not too many because then it's overwhelming. 3 or 4 maybe, but especially if I want to pull something up, or, then we have the endless supply of sheets. Sheets are very important. The kids worked hard on those sheets, the leaping sheets. We need them, but it's very important. But I have to have a side table. It's very important because I need my work area. There's a lot going on. So in Frisch, said, now that I'm a Frisch parent, no, actually it was a great move for her. She's doing amazing. So there was a Rebbe in Frisch, Rabbi Shlomo Kahn, who had taught in Frisch for many, many years, and they kind of republished. So it was first published in 1969. And he actually wrote a Haggadah, and they took it upon themselves as a school to republish it. So so what I found interesting, and I didn't notice it until I saw the cover, it says like this, with separate text and commentaries for 2 Seder nights. Huh. Because if you ever studied a Haggadah, it's like very heavy in the beginning. And then once you get to the meal part, it's like, it's just, there's nothing there. It's like maybe a little something on Chad Gadya, but there's nothing there. It's just text. So I'm doing that. I get to the end, and then wait a minute. I get to the end of the Haggadah, and he goes the second Seder night. There's like goes through the Haggadah again, the second Seder night. Woo! Right? So I found this commentary, which is not found in the first Seder night, but he goes up till Shulchan Aruch, up until the meal. So he has Hillel, the sandwich. We discussed it last week. The sandwich, we should put a little meat in there. I'm trying to work on getting some chopped meat, some deli or something there, but apparently I'm told it's sacrilegious and against the custom. But Hillel, we have the matzah, we have maror, fine. I also was sending out today. If it didn't go out already, I don't know, but it's about to go out. Erica Brown just published like a nice Haggadah supplement, which it's going out to the shul. If anybody wants it, let me know. If you're not on our shul list, I'll get it to you. What? She's doing something that's similar to, and yeah. So it's nice. It's like a 4-page thing apropos to this year. I also sent that the Rabbi Lau composed a prayer to say at Behisha Amda. We have that that's going on as well. Because like I try to like limit because it's like overwhelming. If you send like too much stuff, you haven't sent anything. So I'm just trying to give like little things at least that people can find to be meaningful. So in Hillel, we say Zecher LeMikdash Kehillel, and it's something I know, but I didn't really pay attention to it. And it's just one of those things that like you need semantics and we need technical expertise to be really good at it. He would put matzah and maror, l'kayem mashen emar, amatzos u'marorim yochluhu. Okay? Because we want to fulfill the dictum of the pasuk that it says, you shall eat it with matzah and morim together. Matzah and maror together. When one looks at the pasuk that he quotes, you would look for it. If I were to ask you, where would I find that pasuk? Oh, I'll look back in the Carbon Pesach, in the 12th chapter of Exodus, obviously, Parshas HaChodesh, when it talks about the Carbon Pesach for the first time. But if you look, you won't find that pasuk. That pasuk that Hillel uses for Korach is actually in Bahaloscha, which is Pesach Sheni, which is for the second Passover. That if someone was unable to bring the first Pesach, you were Tamei Lameis, or you were too far, or whatever. I actually had sometimes like God gives you as a rabbi, like you're trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to say? Like God, like something called Siyata D'Shmaya, we call it a softball like this. So we had a beautiful simcha on Sunday. So we had a wedding, and for both it was not the first marriage for both of them. And under the chuppah, I spoke about Pesach Sheni. I said, you know what? It's the first mitzvah in the Torah that you get a makeup. Sometimes you get a second chance. So it was like tailor-made for this chuppah. It was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And they were so happy. They so deserve one another. And I'm so happy for them. And it was great. We had an offer from shul. Like, it's not usually that we have an offer from shul for a guy that's older than me. Like it's like nice. Okay. It's not often that we have two congregants getting married to each other, right? So it was beautiful. Very, very nice. So Pesach Sheni, though, is the source that he uses for Korech. Why? So look what Rabbi Khan writes. Rabbi Shlomo Khan, his Neshama Shev and Aliyah, taught students at Frisch for generations and still teaching, right? Maybe this is the one, if this is the only reason why I sound like it to Frisch, Dayenu. A careful look at the reference generates surprise. The quotation is not from Sidro Bo, as we'd expect, but from Baloscha, right? The makeup Seder on the 14th of Iyar for those who in temple times missed the Nisan Pesach sacrifice. Now, we may not have paid attention to this, but if you remember 4 years ago during COVID, when Eli Beer of United Hatzalah, which, by the way, if you want to stop Iranian missiles, give to United Hatzalah. Then when Eli Beer was, he was in Florida and he got COVID, really, really bad COVID, and he was on a coma for like weeks. He said goodbye to his family before they intubated him again. When he came home he did Pesach Sheni. He did a whole Seder and he did Pesach. There's a great video of it. Did the author of the Haggadah make a mistake in quoting the wrong passage? No. Each year at the Seder, we sorely miss the Seder's highlight, the sacrifice, but we never cease to hope. Overnight, the temple may be rebuilt, and we shall be able to then resume the service, which was interrupted 1,800 years ago, and then add another 40. Prayerfully, we express the fond wish. Perhaps still this year, before another month is up, the temple will stand. And then 4 weeks from now, on the 14th of Iyar, we'll eat Pesach Sheni, a makeup sacrifice. I thought it was such a nice, like, we always have to think about hope. It's going to be my theme throughout the entire Pesach, Yizkor, everything. Yeah. Hope. We have to think about hope. We're born of Kisarita, that we have struggled, but guess what? We found light. We found blessing. We found a way to come out okay, intact. And that's what the message of Pesach should be, especially this year. So we're sitting in the Korach and say, you know what? Again, it's cute. Oh, maybe Beis Hamikdash will be rebuilt. Okay, we all know that the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt, the day after Pesach. We're not rushing over there. Because I have a wedding, I have theater tickets, I got a ball game, I gotta type some loose ends. All right. But the idea is that we're always thinking that, you know what? There's gonna be a Pesach Sheni. We always Jews, we are always getting a second chance. And by the way, it means that we should also, to those in our lives that we can't stand, maybe we should give them a second chance. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I practice that. I'm saying, but maybe it's something also to think about, a second chance. So this year, there's so much that we can capitalize on on Pesach this year, perhaps more than other years, because we're asking ourselves, wait, we're so miserable and we're so like ausgewebt and like uh, totally just drained from everything that's happened the last 6.5 months now already. Like, what am I supposed to do? Maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe we have to take that energy and say, yeah, we're all feeling that way, but let's figure like, what are we doing? That's why Rav Soloveitchik used to say, lama doesn't mean why, it means lema. Like to what? Okay, so what are you going to do now? This has happened to us? Yes. It's awful? Yes. The world hates us? Yes. But what are you going to do? Where are you going to find your strength? Where are you going to find your personality trait that best suits this to like lema, figure out what are we going to do? That's what this Pesach should be about. So with that, I hope everybody will have a wonderful, wonderful Chag. And again, one less drape, one more paragraph. Okay? We could agree with that? Okay, good. Great. And I look forward to our new Libud after Pesach. If I'll send if everyone wants to know what the book is, if you don't know what it is, we'll get it. I'll show you what it is, but everyone should have most Chag kosher v'sameach, or just focus on the sameach. We do have a lot to be thankful and happy about, and even though in these dark times, so everybody should do well. I actually just printed these out if anybody wanted to like something. It was from the people that make the billboards. They made this. It's 2 pages. Each is 2 pages. So if anybody wants, I'll send it out. But have a great day and good luck with the all the prep.
I didn't get the
Yeah, I did.
So,
I got it.
this last week.
After the